Well, I tell everybody, you never need me until shit hits the fan and you need me.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. I'm your host today. My name is Brett Gilliland. And on this episode, and every episode, we bring real business owners who are bringing real experience, sharing real stories and lessons learned, as well as real challenges that they're still dealing with. Our guest today is Adam Rossen. Adam is the founder and CEO at Rossin Law Firm. They're in South Florida, and they help people with things that happen to them that they that they need some help with. Um, I'll let you talk about that, Adam. Welcome to the show. First of all, thank you for being here.
Yeah, hey Brett, thanks so much for having me. And I'm the founder and CEO of the Rossin Law Firm. We are a criminal defense firm. We are located in South Florida. We actually have 9 locations throughout South Florida. We handle any type of state court, so DUI, robbery, burglary, murder, from basically all types of, in Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami, Dade County. And we do have a federal practice where we do handle cases nationwide, especially the white collar and the healthcare fraud type of cases. And yeah, I'm very happy to be here to talk about my journey. So hopefully anybody listening to this, I listen to tons of podcasts and I'm just a junkie of trying to learn and grow and gain information. So hopefully you folks enjoy what I have to say.
Oh, I'm sure they will, especially if we started, sharing some fun stories, your criminal defense stories. I've never actually done this, but I wonder what it looked like to take, the population of our listener base and map it up against the types of folks that you are defending. But hey, you said white collar situations. You said, and I imagine some business owners find themselves on the wrong end of a DUI charge or whatever. So, yeah, I'd probably be surprised if I really
Yeah,
looked at it
well, I tell everybody you never need me until shit hits the fan and you need me, right? And you
until you
need
need
us.
me.
And
Yeah.
right until and it's not just me, it's us. We've built a nice firm now, but we do a lot of the complex white collar, especially with the idle PPC and the ERTC, the COVID related, pandemic related programs that have been going on. And obviously, there's been a lot of fraud and issues surrounding that. And your good old fashioned, DUI or drugs, whatever. We have a big passion and a big focus also for mental health and substance abuse. Those just things are really near and dear to all of our lawyers' hearts. Doing what we do, we come across a lot of that. So, and we just, look, I was a prosecutor back in the day, and I think I help way more people now on the defense side than I did as a prosecutor. And I'm really, really enjoy what I do.
Well, I love that you have a passion for that and you're helping people in ways that most of us don't think about. So I
Right.
have a brother-in-law who's a criminal defense lawyer in Des Moines, Iowa. So shout out to Jonah. I'm thinking of you. Here as I interview Adam. He's one of our peeps out there helping people who need some help. All right, so let's jump into this interview, Adam. Not only are you an amazing criminal defense lawyer and built an awesome practice, awesome firm, but you are a business owner and you've learned some lessons as you've grown your firm and the many locations that you now have. And you went from, I imagine, a fairly small firm right at first to now you've got lots of attorneys practicing at the firm, and you've got paralegals and intake people, all the stuff that you've had to build. And we'd love to hear some key lessons that you've learned in your own journey along the way. So let's start with that. What is a key lesson or two that you learned as you've made that transition from, scrappy, gritty founder to capable business building leader? What are some things you've learned that might be helpful to other business owners?
Yeah, and so first, just to give everybody a little background on the way criminal defense is as a whole across the country, think about Better Call Saul or the Lincoln Lawyer. 99% of criminal defense lawyers, it's them and their trusty sidekick, and that's it. And they may be brilliant trial lawyers, they might be fierce warriors, right? Think of us as that way, where we can get a case and go to trial tomorrow. But what I've done over the last, especially, I mean, I've had the firm almost 20 years, but especially the last 10 years, is we've turned it into suits where we want to have a big, powerful firm. And we're one of the largest criminal defense firms in South Florida, even across the country. You don't have too many 25-person, six-lawyer firms in criminal defense, which is still relatively small. But but in our niche area, it's definitely different. So, and what I've done is really learn about the business. I don't practice. I'm not in the nitty gritty every day of court, but I'm in the nitty gritty of business management, leadership, culture, all of those things. So Brett, when I to get from kind of that scrappy grittiness, $2 million, and then wake up one day and you're like, wow, this is actually a business here. First it was all about sales and marketing, right? It's hustle, market, sell. It's me and my cell phone. It's 24/7. It's, we got arrested, boom, 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 right? I got to be available. I'm doing all that stuff. But as and before COVID, we had grown to six total employees. About 850. We had about 3 years in a row between 750 and 850 in revenue. And then after COVID, we just exploded and 3x'd in pretty much everything. And we went from 6 to 13 to 20 employees in literally 2 years. And it was a lot of shifts. One was thinking, okay, well, not everybody's going to think like me. Not everybody's going to have my attitude, my mindset, and which is only natural, but you don't think about it, right? Because a lot of people want stability. They want a paycheck. They want, more of a 9 to 5. They want those things, and they don't have the risk tolerance that a founder, would have of trying to build a business and working 24/7 for a few years. So that was definitely one thing that sticks out in my mind right away. Kind of a big global thing is understanding that there's many different types of people, and there's many different things that motivate people and what they want out of their own lives. And it's hard to expect other people to do and think exactly the way I think and the way I would do things, because there's a reason that I'm in one seat and there's a reason they're in a different seat in the business. So that's the first thing. Obviously, I got a million things I can talk about,
Yeah, no, I love that
with
one.
this.
Let's just start there for a second. Let's click down one or two levels on it. So not everybody thinks like you or thinks the way you do, or maybe is showing up the way an all-in founder would show up. Have you learned anything about how to find, in you've hired 20 people or more
Oh,
now?
we've hired and fired probably 100
Yeah,
in the four
right.
years, 5 years,
So, so you've
which
learned a
has
few
been
things,
crazy.
right? About selecting
Yeah.
those people who are more likely to be at least in alignment with the way that
Mhm.
you think, or think about their role, even if it's different than the founder CEO role. Think about their role in a way that matches how you want them thinking about it. So let's drill down on that a little bit more. What have you learned in
Oh, yeah.
hiring and
Well,
firing all those people?
I mean, the last 4 years, I think, just between masterminds and coaching and different programs, I feel like I have, an executive MBA now, and
Hmm.
I'm learning every day. Um, so, one of the top three business decisions I've ever made, and a lot of it's timing too, was we started EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is,
Hmm.
I don't know how many of your listeners are familiar with Gino Wickman and the book
A lot
Traction.
of people familiar. Yep.
Yeah. And so it came to lawyers and law firms kind of around like 2018, 2019. And I looked into it then, but I just didn't think we were ready. And so at the end of 2020, when we were at six and I could tell that we're really trending upward, I'm like, we need to do this. And at first, I did a 1 day seminar on how to do it ourselves. And I was like, that's not going to work. So I'm like, we need to hire a professional implementer. And it was the perfect time, but I also think it's a really good system for us. And I think it's a system for making decisions, making consistently good decisions. So, the managing partner, Manny, and myself, we were the two lawyers at the time. And sure, we know what we are, but it's not written down and it's not easily transferable to other people. So now we have a very defined culture. We have 5 core values. And it's funny, you said that all in founder. Well, core value number 4 is playing all in our firm. So now we want people who play all in, right? And are truly dedicated and have a love for criminal defense or helping others through criminal defense. So by being able, you know, when we're interviewing people and writing job ads and job descriptions, having our core values and say, look, this is us. you're either going to love it here or you're going to hate it here. And you're an amazing person and you might be have an amazing skill set, but you're better off somewhere else because these are our core values and this is our work culture. And it didn't happen overnight. It's been 3 4 years of us learning, and like I said,
Yeah.
and I'm not joking, we've probably hired and fired 70 people in 4 years, but we were a fast growing company trying to figure out our identity during the great resignation. And so now I really think we have a much better identity, and we're able to to look at somebody and say, look, this isn't, we're not the right place for you. Or when we see it and feel it, we go, oh my God, like, yes, come on in. You're gonna love it here, and we're gonna
Yeah.
love you.
Well,
Yeah.
Adam, I love that you brought up this word identity. People talk about values all the time, but I think they miss the point of it. Value sometimes just becomes this, like here are the things that we believe in, or we say this is how we operate, but there's a difference between plastering that on the walls or putting it on our website and actually living that way and embracing this as our shared identity. And it's the
Right.
way that we start to say we instead of, us and them or you and me. It's like, no, this is we, our shared
Right.
identity. So I love that you brought up that word. Good work on that. Even if it took you
Thank you.
70 hires to figure it out, that's amazing.
It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the EOS structure has been really good for that. So I'm
Good.
happy with it.
Good. And I'm not gonna. I've never bashed on EOS. EOS is phenomenal when it comes to getting really clear and unified around the operational excellence. Those are my terms. The operational excellence side of your business. And at Elite Entrepreneurs, we're helping people who want to be really good at the strategic progress side of their business. And there's both. There's like we got to take targeted, coordinated action as one team, and there's like two things we need to work on: the day-to-day getting and serving of clients in your case, and then the longer term how we're building our firm. And EOS has some great tools, but I would say they lean heavier towards the day-to-day stuff, and in our world we lean heavier towards the long term, the culture, the people leadership stuff. And I think every system has a little bit of their strengths, and weaknesses, but we have a lot
And
of
I think
people.
you're right about that,
Yeah.
because we've been on EOS for 3 4 years and it's great. And we've modified little tweaks and things. I'm never one that can be put in a box. So I'm always the one to be like, okay, well, this is good, but I like this little different, and I don't consider ourselves an EOS purist. I think there's a lot of different things, and I'm always learning and growing too, because we are evolving. We're always evolving and growing. So I agree with you. And where I sit in the day to day, I'm the dreamer, right? I'm the forward thinker of the firm. I'm not in production anymore. And so I'm always like, man, if I can have more strategic time, more thinking, more planning, more scheming, more ideas, that puts me in my happy place.
Yeah, so good. Okay, Adam, this has been awesome so far. Is there any other lesson or nugget that you'd like to pass along to you, like especially as you started to pull yourself out of the day to day? Because I think a lot of our listeners might still be stuck in that day to day, and
Right.
we have a lot of guests saying, yeah, like learn how to delegate, learn how to give ownership to others, and so even if that's part of the math here, anything that you could go deeper on around how did you really make time to work on the business more or free yourself up to be more future oriented or more looking up and out versus down and in?
Right. Well, anybody who, especially for us, we're a professional services company, we're a law firm, right?
Yeah.
So many of lawyers, doctors, accountants, right, whatever you name it. I mean, we're highly educated. We've spent tons of money and years in school. And so that's a major part of our identity. Now, you take that and you throw being a trial lawyer on top of that, right? Criminal lawyers, we're trial lawyers. Trial lawyers, we're the you know we're the best of the best in that way. And most of us have some degree of sociopath or narcissism in our brains. It is, or there's some reason why we became trial lawyers, because it's very hard to do. um, and it's not healthy for a lot of people, right? But there is that. And for a lot of us, it's extremely hard to let go. Luckily, I've also found that I have a love of marketing, of sales, of culture, of leadership. I was a high school basketball coach for 10 years, won a state championship. So I love all of those other things about competition and building and growing. So I always think I've had it in me. And I've been very fortunate to hire amazing lawyers. And it took me time, though. I transitioned out of production, I believe, in October 2021. And it just, for about 3 to 6 months, I was just kind of moping around the office, like, okay, what am I doing? And I'd go to the team like, hey guys, I'm still a really good lawyer. Can I talk about this case? And look, I get my fix when we talk about our DUI manslaughters and our murders and our really complicated cases with my lawyers from a strategic standpoint. And when I watch them in trial, I have to be in the right mindset of Adam, don't interfere, right? But it comes with intention and a lot of work and practice. And I've just found that I really enjoy what I'm doing now. And from a perspective of not too many people can do what I'm doing now, but I've found amazing lawyers to do what I did before. And
Yeah,
it takes time, it takes coaching. There's a lot of intentionality into it, especially though when you do have your identity wrapped around your profession. But
yes,
on the flip side of that, Brett, is, I was just at a mindset workshop and 2 weeks ago, and I got like so many takeaways from it, but one of them was, I said, guys, the owner of a Five Guys franchise is not there flipping burgers every day, right? Now, maybe good leadership if shit happens and you got to go in for a day, right? Okay. But, their identity is not as far as the person making the sausage or flipping the burgers. It's there as the owner, right? And figuring out all the other things. So I just thought of that or heard that a few weeks ago and thought that's a really good way to put it when you think of a business that's not a professional services or a highly skilled technician type of, business or
yeah,
profession.
yeah. Super fascinating for me to listen to you, Adam, and hear the word identity again, cropped up again.
Right.
Before it was around the shared values thing, like our identity. Now is around what happens for the business owner when that person's identity is wrapped up in the highly specialized thing that they do, right, in the business. And that identity thing from, a highly trained trial lawyer to I'm going to give that up. I spent a lot of money and a lot of time getting that education and earning that experience. And now I'm going to give that up to go be the business builder, to be the leader, to be the visionary that my business needs me to be. That transition or break in identity is tough for a lot of people. So,
Oh,
um,
it is.
yeah,
And one thing too, for any of the professional services people listening to this, I've spoken on stage nationwide at different conferences and things, and I always say, look, you don't have to, when I'm at those kind of conferences, I say, you don't have to be like me if you don't want to. You can grow a highly successful firm. And if you still want to be the technician, the amazing lawyer, but then you need to bring on professional help, whether it's a coach, right? Or at some point, maybe, as the business grows, maybe a fractional CEO, a fractional CFO, different things. And then at some point, if the business grows, you might need to bring somebody in full time to
yeah,
handle those things. Because it doesn't have to be the technician if they want to grow a business and they don't want to be in that role. But they better be ready and understand that they're going to have to need professional help.
yeah, yeah. Good point. And I love what you're saying because the options are, I mean, they're not infinite, but there's several ways to do this. And one of them might be like we have a member of our community right now who had a 25, 30 person personal injury law firm, different type of law firm, but it's the type of firm that they believe in going to trial for their clients. So
Right.
he would be in trial. He'd love being in trial, and so he does this thing where he kind of has this guilty pleasure or guilty thing that he says, I'm going to take 2 cases a year, 1 case a year or something. Some thing that gives him that fix once a year, twice a year. And so he's CEO most of the time, but he still does 1 or 2 cases just because he loves to do that. So it doesn't have to be
Right.
all one or the other, but you do have to realize if you want to scale your company, somebody has to do that business building work. And if it's not going to be you, because you want to be the technician, then you're going to have to bring in some help, like Adam said.
Right.
All right.
Absolutely.
Very good. Okay, that's been a great segment for part one of our interview. Part two is the transition to, all right, let's be real about what's happening now because you're still working to grow. from where you guys are now, and there's still messy things or challenges, and I'd love to crack one open and try to help you with it. So, what's a business building or scaling type of challenge that we can jam on here for a little bit, Adam?
Sure, yeah. So for us, we're multi seven figures now. We do have aggressive plans to get to eight figures. And for us, I think our big pain point has been developing leaders from within and layers of mid management. And you're shaking your heads, right? So I'm sure you've
Yeah,
heard this before. And as me, somebody who, on one hand, I absolutely hate the corporate structure and things, and especially criminal defense lawyers, we tend to be the outlaws, the outcasts, the misfits. But I know the value in it when you're building a company. And bureaucracy, like I hate bureaucracy, right? I fight the government every day. That's what we do.
yeah,
But I understand we have to have some layers of management and control. And it's like, I was saying a few years ago to Manny, I was like, man, we used to be that Coast Guard cutter where we could turn on a dime, change a policy, change a procedure, and we had to talk to like four people about it. Now we're like this big, slow behemoth ship trying to turn and pivot, and we have all this stuff. But so that's kind of where we're at, is how do we get those layers of mid management and management just in general to think like us, act like us, lay the message down so that way we can continue to focus on the expansion and growth that we want to have.
yeah. That's a great description of what happens about this, about the size that you guys are at now. And before we jump into ideas, because I do have some ideas for you, what would you say I don't know, the cost or the slowing down of your growth? Like, how would you attribute? What's the impact of not figuring this out in terms of your plans?
Well, I mean, we talked about swinging and missing on many hires, and some of them have been management level
Mm,
hires that we brought into either our leadership team or certain people that we tried to promote. And I've learned a lot about so many different things, but the Peter principle always comes to mind of people get promoted to their level of incompetence.
mhm.
And just we've spent so much money on hiring, training, retraining, firing, hiring, training, right? Firing, um, and not just actual dollars going out, but the sweat equity, the time factor of myself and other employees into that. Where and I understand, right? I want to go go go, but a lot of this has just been it's been one very expensive, like I said, executive MBA
Yeah,
between coaching groups and just wasting money or just on the job trying and failing.
yeah.
But that's okay. That's how you grow.
That's how we all
So
do
it's
it.
cost a
Yeah.
lot.
But how can we burn fewer Benjamin Franklins, right? Like I did have this hiring
Yeah.
training
Yeah.
where I've got this
Well,
stack of money on fire, and like this is what happens when we hire poorly. We're just burning money. But it's part of
one
the
of the, I
learning.
can tell you, it is one of the things that we recently did is we recently invested in Culture Index. So I don't know how familiar you are with that
Mhm.
compared to Predictive Index or DISC or some of the other
Yeah,
ones. We have our guy. We went through the training, and so we're using it for two ends. We're using it for hiring, and we've bumped it. We dabbled in it, and we did it at the very end, more of like, oh please, I really like this person. Hopefully, this confirms that they're going to be good here. And we've moved it to literally the second step of the process now.
mhm,
But also, it really helps us with management and trying to make better connections with our team, because again, most people, not it's not everybody. Most people don't think the way I think and don't behave and analyze things that way. So trying to learn our team better so we can really see what they want. Everybody says, "Oh, I want to grow." Bullshit. What does that mean?
mhm,
What does growth mean to them, right? And what's their definition of that? And are they willing to put in what we think it takes for somebody to do that? So really trying to get much deeper on the definitions and understand how to reach people.
mhm.
That we've seen a major shift in the last 6 months in that, where
Good.
we're doing a
Congrats.
lot better.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good job. Well, you talked, we didn't get into specifics, but you talked about investing a lot of money in an executive MBA, as you've been learning. I'll read into that, burning a bunch of Benjamin Franklins to try to learn these lessons. But you have learned a ton, and you've we've gotten great improvements. So that just gives us the scope of importance. I want every business owner listening to think about the reality of how much they've invested in figuring out this hiring thing. And you didn't start talking about this as a hiring thing. You talked about how do we get our leadership where it needs to be, that next level of leadership. And I'm going to try to avoid the idea of management hierarchy or structure. I'll tell you why. I'm not a fan of it either. I like somebody asked me today, why aren't you doing what you do for like government groups or municipalities and stuff like that? And I just want to like stick my finger all the way down my throat and throw up on them. I'm like, those people, they're not purpose driven. They're not trying to figure out what their unique identity is, right? What our values are and how we really add value. And they live in this like crazy bureaucratic environment with all these policies. That's not the world of entrepreneurship. That's not growth oriented business owners. It's way different. That's not who we serve. And so I have that same like I want to just reject everything that is bureaucratic, everything that is policy heavy. All of that is just horrible for a business owner. And yet, let's acknowledge the difference. You talked about what's the USS, what's the Coast Guard
Oh,
skiff?
right. Like we like a cutter, like a Coast Guard
Cutter,
cutter.
yeah,
We used to be able to, yeah, turn on a
yeah, just
dime.
super agile, right, and fast. And as you've grown, and you're not even huge today, but as you've grown, you felt the slowdown. And so, how do we get how do we have the leadership we need without getting bogged down in structure or hierarchy? And so let's talk about that. I was part of a fairly high growth software company where we went from seven figures to 10 million, then 30 million, then 100 million. And there's a reason I'm calling out those milestones. In our view of the world, there's a different stage on the ones and threes of revenue, right? 1 to 3 million, 3 to 10 million, 10 to 30. Every time you're tripling, there's a new thing that we got to figure out. And it's really a combination of people, process, systems, and there's some up leveling of those things. And it doesn't mean the marketing or sales ever goes away. Like there are next level challenges of marketing and sales, but there's new company building and scaling types of things that happen at each of those ones and threes. And so we did this thing really fast where we went from seven figures to 100 million within 5 or 6 years, maybe 7 years, but it was pretty fast. And so I built the hiring and onboarding systems for that. I led the strategic planning process for that. My business that I have now today was born out of that whole experience in that company. And the two things that I always tell people, if I could look back and do it over again, I would do two things differently. And you hit on both of them today, Adam. The first thing I would do is I would guard the front door with my life. And we were very culture intentional, I'll say. We were very intentional. And that's my background. And I was like, we're going to hire to the culture. We had a well-defined culture. We built a selection process that was really great, but the volume of hires we put through it still broke the machine. Like we added a couple hundred people one year, and we just let too many people in the door we should not have let in. It just broke.
Right.
And so that was one thing. Like guard that front door with your life, and it sounds like you're taking all those steps, which is amazing.
Now,
This
now,
now you are, yeah.
now.
After you've learned, yeah, executive MBA.
Right.
So the second thing that I always tell people that I wish I had done sooner is I wish we had built leadership. I wish we had developed leaders faster. And that's what you brought to me. It's like we need leadership, and you sort of couched it in this idea that you have to have the management structure. And I agree there has to be some rhyme or reason to how we organize the structure. But what I want to emphasize for you is you're reaching for capable leadership. You want powerful leadership. And so how do we develop leaders fast enough for our growth? And or how do we make sure that when we do need to bring somebody in from the outside to be a leader, that we're not bringing in somebody that's going to bring like a jackhammer to our precious identity, right? Our
Right.
cultural foundation, because that can happen. So what often happens is we grow, we outgrow, we do the Peter principle. We start promoting people to the level of their incompetence. And then we go, oh, we got to go outside for that leader. We bring in somebody from the outside, and then we put our culture at risk. So that's the conundrum. You put your finger right on it when you brought up that issue. Here's what I would suggest. I would think about, because you already have a shared identity around, you have even if you don't call it a purpose, you guys have a why with your criminal
Right.
defense, right?
Oh, we say we're a purpose driven
Driven. Yeah.
company.
Good.
We say that,
I
which is
heard it.
really
Yeah.
cool in the law firm. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't hear you use those
Yeah.
words, but I heard the
Right.
purpose. Yeah. I was like,
Hmm.
we want to help people in those cases, right? And I saw your website. Bad things happen to good people. We want to help those people. Right? So, anyway, you're purpose driven, you're values based. That shared identity is precious to you. How do we develop leaders within that world? Just like you got really clear on what your values are, you need to get clear about what good leadership looks like at Rossin Law Firm or Rossin Law Group or whatever you end up calling this large thing that you're creating. So, what does good leadership look like at Rossin? That's the next question for you in the evolution of your business. And what I mean by that is very specific. Like, I'll give you an example. We created a leadership model that many of our members just adopt, and it has three parts. The first, every leader, leaders, or sorry, owners, first time leaders, whatever, they have three primary responsibilities as a leader: set the vision, or bring that clarity, right? So everybody
Right.
knows what we're doing and what their part is in it and how we coordinate and all that stuff. So get that clarity, build the team. So let's add the right people and or develop the people we have to go achieve the vision that we have, and then we got to deliver the results. For the business owner, there's a specific flavor called get the resources, right? Like, we got to have the fuel to be able to deliver the vision. So those are the three kind of competency areas, or skill sets, if you will, that these leaders need to be capable in. So as you come up with the Rossin way, there's only so many ways to describe good leadership, but there will be a way that
Right.
you guys describe it. Then you click down even further. Remember when you said, what was that value? Like, we act like owners or something. What was that last value you talked about? You had a core
Um,
value where, like, an owner, we have an ownership.
playing all in. I mean,
Oh,
that's the
all
core
in.
value that I
Sorry.
spoke
Yeah,
about. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I tripped you up because I used the wrong
Right.
words.
That's core
Wrong
value
words
number
again.
4. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Core value number 4: playing all in. Well, I imagine at first when you were learning all your selection process lessons, you didn't just ask, or maybe you asked the question, hey, so prove to us that you play all in. Well, that's one level of questioning. But as you guys got more clear about behaviorally, what does it look like to play all in? Your questions around that got better, right? And
Yep.
now maybe you lean on a culture index to get views into that specific value. Just like you did that for your values, you have to do something similar on the leadership side. So, using my example of set the vision, what does it look like to set the vision? Is that a one and done activity? Like, what does ongoing leadership look like to, if your expectation is that they will set the vision? Well, it probably looks like, anytime we start something new, we get really clear about what we're doing and how we're going to get there, right? So there's some intentionality, there's some strategy, there's in our world, there's some co-creating, so we involve the team in getting that clarity. So anyway, you just click down on the behavior pieces, and then you know how to start developing your team to the leadership way that you have at Rossin. Um, okay, so that's a lot of theoretical. Let's get a little more practical for a minute.
Okay.
Adam.
And I love what you're saying so far, Brett. I love
Okay. Okay, good. I don't feel like I'm on trial, but thank you for saying
it.
that. Anyway, so let's get a little more practical. I imagine if I look at your calendar today, Adam, I would see lots of activities that look and feel and smell and taste like leadership things. Whereas when you first started your firm, you probably did a lot of things that looked, smelled, tasted like technician or lawyer things, right? You see where I'm
Yeah.
going with this? So your calendar today is filled with leadership activities, leadership responsibilities. And so what I would encourage you to do is never do those things alone. I would encourage you to start thinking about, and let's get practical with an example. I don't know, creating a budget for 2025. If you sit down and create a budget for 2025 by yourself, you will have missed a key leadership development opportunity. Every time you go to do something that is a leadership activity, I invite you to consider who would benefit from doing that with me, and go into it. This is real simple. I'm a simple guy, but go into it with, what does it take to do this activity successfully? Deconstruct it yourself. Think through how you do it. Explain it to somebody that you want to teach how to do it. Explain it to them. Then model it for them. Maybe this time you do part of it, or you do the full thing this time. And then you hand it to them to try under your care, guidance, right? Maybe you give them to somebody else to provide some additional support as well, and then the next time they do it, they're on their own. But there's a gradual handing off of, or at least giving them repetitions of leadership activities, and your calendar is full of them, and we just don't think of it as development opportunities.
It's a great point. Yeah. We have gotten a little better at that. Our leadership team now is six. We have including our fractional CFO. So really it's five internal. And it was great
Mhm.
because it was pretty much two to three for so long. And we're like, I need people. And now that we've had this leadership team in place for maybe 4 or 5 months, we're kind of starting to really get in there. And there's a few like different workshops that I want to be bringing them to, whether it's about specifically leadership, or whether it's about operations or whatever, because me and Manny, as the two main lawyers, we've been going to groups and learning ourselves over the last, maybe me 7, 8 years and Manny maybe 4 or 5 years, but we haven't brought too many of our team, whether it's, leadership now or mid-management. And I'm always looking for opportunities to bring them and say, look, this is what we do when we go away. Sure, we have, 'cause everybody wonders what we do. I'm like, yeah, we have fun at night and we do some cool things and we have meet some great people, but we're learning and you know, we're workshopping and we're learning and we're trying to get better. And sometimes you guys think we're crazy in this high growth phase, but when you talk to all the other people we're around, they're just like us. So
Yeah,
it's a whole new
totally.
world,
It's a
right? And
whole new
especially
world.
in law, when you have so many people that are drawn to the conservative nature of law, whether it's
Mhm.
like legal assistants or just attorneys in general. A lot of them want stability. They're really high S and the high C on disc.
Mhm.
They don't. Again, I'm kind of, you know, I'm the abnormal one.
A little bit
So
of a maverick. Yeah.
right, yeah, yeah. So having them see these things and realize that I'm just not the crazy one, is helpful. It really
Well,
is.
I don't do a lot of plugs here on our show for what we do in our community, but one thing I will say, there's a lot of mastermind groups, there's a lot of scaling methods, there's a lot of CEO designed things out there, business owner things. And in our community, we're always telling the business owner to bring somebody with them. Our membership in our group comes with 2 seats. And so it's for the business owner and at least one other key person, because of what you just said. Like, we want to be developing leaders. And because of the lesson I learned a long time ago, it's not just about the leader, it's about bringing others up. And so we have quarterly events, and every event, the business owners trying to decide, okay, which one of my leaders is coming to this one, and we're just
Right.
constantly working on building out that team. So awesome. This has been a fun conversation, Adam. Thank you for bringing an interesting issue and for sharing your golden nuggets. Were extremely valuable. If people want to learn more about what you guys are doing at Rossin Law Firm, especially if they live in South Florida or any of the areas that you serve, how would they find you guys, and or how would they connect with you?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty easy to be found. We're all over. It's Rossin, Rossen, two S's. We have a YouTube channel that has, I don't know, over 15,000 subscribers, a few million views. We have some really cool informational stuff. And then we have some pretty cool videos of, I mean, it's cool, but it's not, of the cops, violating people's
Mm,
rights. And we're on pretty much everywhere. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're everywhere. Just either it's Adam Rossen or the Rossin Law Firm. We really, I think we do a pretty good job with social media. We've had quite a few people reach out to want to work for or with us because they see social media. So
yeah.
that's always really cool. But yeah, and I love meeting, connecting with people. I got nuggets here today, so I'm already. I can't wait till this goes live because I already want my whole leadership team to listen to this, not for what I have to say, but for what you had to say.
Well,
So
good.
yeah, I love meeting people and paying it forward.
Wonderful. Well, you have paid it forward. Let me officially say thank you again. All of our listeners will get something out of that if they're listening for some key principles that you shared. And again, your issue was awesome and will help a lot of business owners. All right, that does it for this episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. If you're listening, please like, share, review, comment, do all those things to help this episode and all the other ones get in front of as many seven figure businesses as possible. We want to help all of these awesome businesses achieve their growth potential, do the things that they're meant to do out there in the world to do a lot of good. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.